Thanks for joining me on this Independence Week. My name is Dave Milner. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy, and I have got a show lined up for you with lots of stuff. Big activities going on, lots of subjects to cover, and a lot of it having to do with July the 4th, Independence Day. I still prefer to call it July the 4th because I want it to always be celebrated on July the 4th. Not be turned into some generic government Monday holiday. And I think that's kind of what the government wants to do, since they're constantly calling it Independence Day instead of July the 4th. You will see one of two things when you start this thing up. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to have some pictures of the fireworks that take place over the harbor that is at Burlington, Vermont on Lake Champlain. They're very nice fireworks, and you'll have something to look at other than just the stupid static picture of the Tea Party movement's special flag. All right. If not, if something else happens, you'll still have the stupid static picture. But it's a little something I want to do special for this special day, this special week. Yeah, now we're going to actually get into some news as well, news and some commentary. Hey, that's what this show's all about, so let's get down to it. Now, first up, this is from the Blaze, and this was dated June the 23rd. And it's U.S. sending 400 troops to Egypt on peacekeeping mission. Now, I'm just going to read this off. Probably not the best time to go to Egypt, considering the hotbed of opposition and instability going on there. They'll be in the Sinai Peninsula on a peacekeeping mission with other multinational forces there. Let's hope they don't get dragged into mainland Egypt conflict if there is one. Now, that's very interesting given the current situation, and given who's president, and given what could happen. I'm going to read a little bit more here. This is something that they have from KDH News. The exercise was part of training to prepare more than 400 soldiers for a deployment this summer in the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt as part of the multinational force and observers peacekeeping force. During the 9-month deployment, soldiers will man posts and checkpoints along the southeast coast of the Sinai Peninsula, where they will observe and report violation of Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty. The peacekeeping force, which includes soldiers from 13 nations, was a result of the 1979 Camp David peace accords, which were signed by Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, Israeli President Menachem Begin, and President Jimmy Carter. Now, there has been some protest of us doing this, and there has also been some feedback from certain individuals. One person who posted to the Blaze story, calling himself right-winger, "We've had U.S. troops under UN sanctions in the Sinai since 1982. They're there to observe the Camp David Accords between Egypt and Israel. Troops are swapped out in a regular basis. The timing is pure coincidence, and the headlines are misleading and downright false. They are not combat troops and have no orders to initiate combat and only report activity." All right. Well, let's say that all that's true. The question still needs to be asked. Do we need to continue doing this given who's in office right now? I mean, let's face it. President Obama is not the biggest fan of Israel. We pretty much know this. And how anyone of the Jewish faith would reelect this guy is just beyond me. I don't know how anyone could do that. But what bothers me is the potential for there to be some kind of an issue. Our troops are on the Sinai Peninsula, and these countries that border Israel have been known to launch attacks into Israel. And Israel, as is their right, have been defending themselves. Now, what worries me is that whoever takes over in Egypt, whichever group of terrorists, I really can't believe that moderates will actually wind up on top there. I wish they would, but I just don't see it happening. These terrorists will turn their eye to Israel and start attacking them. And Israel, of course, will have to defend themselves. And it would be a very bad thing indeed if some of that fire landed on our own troops. But I think that this is an incident that the Obama administration would love to have happen, because what they need to do is create ill sentiment towards Israel, even among American Christians, and even among American Jews if they can manage it. That would make it way easier for President Obama to continue to arm his Muslim Brotherhood broheims over in Syria and in other places, and it would make it easier to ignore or act as if Israel deserves any further terrorist attacks. This is a win for the Obama administration if something happens. Now, what do I think should be done about this? I really can't say that we should just blow off the Camp David peace accords and not send observers. But I think we also have to be very aware of what could happen and be prepared in case an incident does occur, and understand that our troops are there by treaty, and that if Israel has to defend itself, Israel has to defend itself. We have to be very watchful of this situation, because that entire area is blowing up now, and it's not going to get better. Now let's turn our attention to something that's kind of fun and something we need to defend. Now, every kid loves fireworks, or on the 4th of July, or indeed any other time. But the left really wants to do everything they can, in my opinion, to squelch any kind of celebration of the 4th of July, of our American independence, because what it does is every year that we celebrate this, it's a reaffirmation of the fact that ordinary people can rule themselves. Now, this is not the message the left wants out there. What they want is for people to believe that they need a higher, smarter, better informed government to rule over them. So this is why you see some celebrations being pulled back because of quote-unquote budget cuts and things like that. Every year some city decides they're not going to have fireworks or something of that nature because they say that the money isn't there or whatever. All right. And this all kind of rolls into one sort of mega story, in my opinion, about, the war on 4th of July, if you want to put it that way. What I'm reading here is going to come from the Washington Times. This dated June the 26th. Headline, Fireworks in New York as Bloomberg blasts Cuomo's push to legalize sparklers. Now, you've heard rumors about this, I know. And when I did a guest spot on the Small G Gay Weekend Special, which you guys can get from Blog Talk Radio, if you want to download it and listen to the podcast. That would be the one for June the 30th. What I wanted to get into was the reality, what it really is. There's been a lot of rumors about this, and this is what's real. Okay. From the article, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is pressing Governor Andrew Cuomo to put a stop to state lawmakers' move to legalize the sale of sparklers outside city limits. Terrorists could use the sparklers, one of the few 4th of July fireworks products that are believed safe, used by children, to light a bomb, City Hall officials suggested. And that was reported by the New York Post. Lawmakers passed a bill last week, that would be about, I guess, the third week of June, that would allow sparklers to be sold in certain areas of the state, including the 5 boroughs within the Big Apple under Mr. Bloomberg's jurisdiction, where they're already banned. The Post reported that, but Mr. Bloomberg isn't happy with the bill and wants Mr. Cuomo to veto it. Let's see. There you go. Okay. While the bill excludes New York City legalizing these devices, everywhere else in the state would, as a practical matter, have the same effect in the 5 boroughs, said the mayor's state legislative director, Joseph Garba, in the Post. A recent attempt to harm innocent lives provides a frightening example of how legally purchased fireworks can cause dramatic harm and even kill. He referred to the failed 2010 bombing attempt at Times Square when Fishal Shazard legally purchased an M88 is what this says, out of state, and tried to use it to ignite his bomb. Shazard purchased fireworks at a Pennsylvania chain store, transported the fireworks to Connecticut, and created a bomb-like device that he transported into New York City with the intent of killing and causing havoc in a busy tourist area, Mr. Garba said, and the Post reported. The bill weaving through New York's legislature would only legalize the sale of sparklers and toy caps from June the 1st to July the 5th and from December the 26th to January the 2nd. That is from the Post as well. Okay, folks. I mean, this is ridiculousness. First of all, you have the usual left-wing nuttiness about basically calling sparklers devices. Dude, they're sparklers, okay? Get over it. They're some of the most innocuous fireworks ever. Then there's the ridiculous argument that, they can be used to light bombs. Wow. Well, so can a match. So can a lighter. I hesitate to point out that that can happen because those may wind up banned next. What bothers me is there's such an innocuous and practically harmless means of celebrating the 4th of July. And it really does seem as if the left wants to just ban all of that. They don't want the light to show in the dark, even if it's pretty light caused by fireworks. They don't want that at all. All they want is dreariness and this dirge that they always put out on the 4th of July about how America sucks and about how we're oppressive and we're the world's bully and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Now, guys, there are ways to do this. You can even have real, actual fireworks within city limits that are sanctioned by a city and can be safe. Now, I get the fire concerns. I definitely get it. But there are usually plenty of places within a city where people can potentially set off fireworks and not have a problem. Okay, and that's how cities should organize things. Because people set off fireworks in cities anyway. I live in Burlington, Vermont, and trust me, this is the most anal city in the universe when it comes to ordinary people setting off fireworks. They hate that sort of thing. Now, they have a great fireworks display on the 3rd of July, not the 4th, but the 3rd. but they don't like people setting off fireworks. And yet they do it anyway, and they're going to continue to. And why? Because people love to set off fireworks. And also because people love to celebrate the 4th of July. They love to celebrate American independence, and again, the fact that ordinary people have it within them to rule themselves. We think this is an awesome, awesome concept. But you know who doesn't think that's an awesome concept? That would be Nancy Pelosi. That's right. In a story on The Blaze, this one dated the 28th of June. Headline, Pelosi, July 4th is a celebration of Obamacare and health independence. Now I want you guys to listen to this crud that Pelosi said about this whole thing. Okay, this is going to be very short. Most Americans will celebrate America's independence on July 4th, but according to Nancy Pelosi, the country should also celebrate its newfound, quote, health independence, end quote, courtesy of Obamacare. Obamacare captures the spirit of our... Wait a minute. Let me do this in a better voice. Obamacare captures the spirit of our founders. The spirit they wrote in the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what Pelosi said on Friday, and why the hell I did an Eric Cartman imitation, I don't know. But anyway, she said that on Friday, and she said that the law allows Americans to live a healthier life and the liberty to pursue a person's happiness. Whatever the hell that means. This woman is insane if she thinks that people are going to use the 4th of July, well, any people who are real, to celebrate Obamacare instead of the independence that our founders brought to us and that has been defended since then. And her concepts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, her concepts of those are just bizarre. Her concepts of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are out of some weird leftist twilight zone of her own creation that she can twist to create this new leftist view of the 4th of July, where the celebration should not be about independence, but should be about socialism. That's what it should really be about, and anything else just should not be celebrated at all. All right. Want to get into another thing, first of all, that we should really celebrate, and that is the recent Supreme Court decision on the Voting Rights Act. Now, this is from Reuters, okay, and this story is dated the 25th. The U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday gutted a core part of the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act and challenged Congress to come up with a replacement plan to protect blacks and other minorities in places where discrimination still persists, rather than target former slaveholding states in the South. Reuters, being a lefty European publication, chose to report this as if it was some kind of a horrible event. Now, Nancy Pelosi wants something to celebrate. I actually celebrate that as something contemporary to celebrate, aside from the obvious things to celebrate on the 4th of July. And I celebrate it because it's a recognition. This ruling is a recognition of the fact that it's not 1965 anymore, that we have grown as a society in the United States of America, and yes, indeed, in the Southeast, the very place that the left loves to still call bigot land. I mean, you know, watch anything that, for instance, Seth MacFarlane does whenever anything about the Southeast is mentioned, or Texas, or anything like that. They're always very quick to go to the bigot line. Really, in reality, almost all of that is over now. And there's no more need to single out these states and have them go to the Justice Department hand in hand whenever they want to change their voting rights laws, because somehow they're not as good as the rest of the country. Let me share a little secret with some of you guys that live in the Northeast and in other parts of the country. Race bigotry exists there too, and it existed there in 1965. Well, you know what? It's not 1965 anymore. It's actually better. We've grown as a nation. We've grown as a people. I don't have any awesome Americans this week because there are so many of them. All right. My awesome Americans are going to be the people who have evolved from the belief that others were inferior because of skin color to the light of today, the 21st century, where we just don't give a rat's ass about that. That's not what we're about, and that's true of the South too. So this Supreme Court ruling is something that I celebrate, other than the core things that one should celebrate on the 4th of July. Now, from last week's show, I want to thank Teresa Sickles and White Mamba 46 for their comments on the space part of my show. And I even saw Deirdre Gross using this, some of this as an argument on Twitter with someone else. And I hope that it was me that influenced that. But whatever it was, I appreciate the comments. And there were also, I want to say that I appreciate comments from people who enjoyed my appearance on the Small G Gay Weekend Special. I certainly enjoyed it. The Small G Gay Report comes on at 11 p.m. Eastern on weeknights. He's a great host, a fine conservative, and when he has a guest on, he has as accessible an environment for that guest as is true of the rest of his show. His show is about accessible conservatism, and you should check it out. Okay, now, before I take off, just want everyone to know that, yes, there are many things to celebrate this 4th of July, and one of them I spoke about with the Supreme Court decision. But we also should always remember, this is a reaffirmation every year, that the people of the United States of America, ordinary people, not people born into certain families or royals or something of that ilk, are the ones who can actually run our lives. We've done fantastic things with this country, and yes, we've evolved as a people socially. In fact, there are many countries around the world that are not as socially evolved as we are. We're a fantastic and great people, and we should celebrate that on Independence Day. And yes, we should thank our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, and Coast Guard people who help us stay independent by protecting us from our enemies abroad. We should also thank our first responders at home, law enforcement officers, EMTs, firefighters, and give them a little nod for helping keep us safe right here. All of these people and those who watch and make sure that our Constitution is followed and say something when it isn't are the true people to thank and be thankful for on Independence Day. And we should never forget the founders who did all they did to start all this up. Okay, folks, that's it. Hope you guys have a fantastic 4th of July and a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Thank you, and may your God go with you. Bye-bye.